of Bucket List Coach Web Show Live. We're celebrating Veterans Day. Well, hey, everybody. Hey. Welcome to Bucket List Coach Web Show Live. I wish I could say that one time without hesitating at list. For some reason, it gets me every time. My name is Robin Stern. I am your Google guru, and I'm also the executive director of a nonprofit here in Dallas, Georgia called Be Better, Not Bitter. Also, I am the temporary assistant host and MC of this show this month for Cindy, because let's face it, aviation is like Cindy's blood, and the fact that she's not feeling well this month and cannot do this is killing her. So she asked me to step up and fill in for her. I was honored, and I'm here hopefully to give you a tiny little bit of the excellence that Cindy normally brings. But today we're hanging out with JJ Hardy. He is our Army buddy for the month. We're doing one from each branch of the service. We did the Marine Corps earlier, doing the Army now. And JJ has got a long and illustrious career in Army mobility, he said. Military mobility, which means something completely different than what it used to mean in that, now it does something completely different than what it meant when he was in it. What did you do in the Army, JJ?
So the easy way to say it is that they considered me a subject matter expert in transportation logistics management. Another word they called it was master of deployment. But really what it was anytime somebody had to go somewhere, I was the cat herder, so to speak. I got everybody together to get all their equipment requirements and all that stuff done so I could order their ship, their plane, their train, or their truck to move it where it needed to go. And
a logistics genius is what you are, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Huh? Yes, absolutely.
A constantly cross-eyed individual.
Great. Well, look, I appreciate it, JJ. This month, we're going to be all about celebrating Aviation History Month, Gratitude Month, and then the National Day of Giving towards the end of the month. But we have a big shout out this month also to the National Day calendar. Bucket List Coach Travel is hosting the first annual cruise based on national days. How cool is that? Going to Mexico Riviera. It's going to be April 22nd through the 29th next year, taking all the reservations now. Here's some of the days. National Prime Rib Day is during that week. International Pay It Forward Day, Guitar Month, Brunch Month, and for Volunteer Month, which is April, Cindy and the gang are going to volunteer at the Casa Hogar Orphanage in Puerto Vallarta. So check that out, MexicoBucketListCruise.com. Also, a very special announcement that soon we'll be hearing, possibly, allegedly, from the National Day calendar, that Cindy will have her very own National Day on the National Day calendar. How cool is that? We're looking forward to the Cindy Day on National Day calendar. Anyway, this whole thing with San Diego trip that's coming up, Cindy wants anybody who is interested in aviation history and wants to celebrate this month, she wants you to go to San Diego. It's one of her niche markets. Great place to go take a trip. The Midway Museum. We were just talking with Mitch Taco Bell about the Aviation Museum over there at the Midway. And there's other fun things going on. There's a link that we can drop for you there on the social media. All right. Hey, so this interview with JJ, we're going to listen to what he's got to say about his time in the Army. We have a little bit of backstory maybe about where you came from and how you got there, JJ. And then maybe you can help us out a little bit with what's the Army doing for their birthday and when is that? See, I'm a Marine, so tomorrow's our day, but what's up with the Army?
Sure. So the Army's birthday is in the summertime. It's okay. July 17th. So that's one of those things. But anyway, how I got there, I spent an 18-year career in the Army. I came from where I'm at now in Iowa, and there wasn't really much going on for me here. So my grandmother's neighbor, actually, he was an Army National Guard recruiter. I did a short stint in the National Guard because he convinced me that anything that I could do other than what I was doing at that point in time was probably better than what I was doing. And I think we all probably have a story like that.
Yes, sir.
When we're young, there's really not much direction anyway. But I did that. I loved it. My leaders saw a lot of potential in me, so I decided to go on active duty and do it full time. And I ended up serving a total of 18 active duty years, and I retired a couple of years early. So, yeah.
So you told a lot of people where to go during those 18 years, huh?
I think they told me, I was in logistics, and who cares about logistics? So everyone, I think, was kind of telling me where to go most of the time.
Yeah, but ultimately, you got to hand them the paper that said, this is where you and your stuff are going to go, and this is how you're going to get there, right?
I did, yes.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, we were just
ahead.
talking because Mitch was a pilot, and so I'm not worthy to even like gas up his plane, right? I worked on him, but I never flew. And he made a big point of it. He couldn't do what he did without all the other pieces of the puzzle coming together, right? And so for everybody that ever had to go anywhere and get there with all their stuff intact and all the things they needed to be there, that's what we had to count on you guys for, and that's what we can thank you for, because it was you logistics guys that made sure that when we opened up the boxes that were supposed to have the food, there was freaking sea rations in there, right? I mean,
right.
Let's just get real, right? So,
yes.
Yeah, don't ever downplay what you did, JJ. What you did was a huge piece of it, right?
Trust me. No, I just
all right.
It's the fun thing.
We all have that story, right? And
yes.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, because as logistics, I'm sure you have multiples of that story.
Yes.
But give us a couple of the choice ones so we can share them with our audience here today.
It was important. I felt like it was a good place to be, and if I could be value added to the entire military, then that seems like a lot more fun than just having to have my own company, or to have, be a first sergeant or and just have a few soldiers. If I could be value added to the entire military,
sure,
that when they see that pay grade, it really means something.
Right. So again, I like the way you said you tagged it with subject matter expert, that you ground out so many years that you knew enough to be an officer, but you didn't have some of the specific requirements that you have to be a O-grade officer as opposed to a chief warrant O-grade officer, right? So that's amazing that they've done that. I had some of my greatest mentors in the Marine Corps were these old, crusty chief warrant officers that were they were hilarious, because they're so hardened from being an enlisted man for all those years, and they'll spit their tobacco juice at the word officer. Right. And I work for a living. Don't call me an officer or sir, So, but they were, because they did have that subject matter specialty, and they knew enough to, hell, they had enough respect of their peers because they've been doing it so long and they were so good at it. Right. So it was great that the military created that kind of in between area where you could reward that knowledge and experience, even though you didn't have a 4-year college degree, so you couldn't be an officer, right? So and that was the same thing most of us enlisted guys come up against, is we didn't go to college because we wanted to go in the military. So I have my youngest son is at Georgia Tech right now, and he was completely against the military. And the other day he called and he said, do you know they'll pay me to go to school for the next 3 years and make me an officer when I get out?
They got us upset.
Imagine that, buddy. I've been saying this to him for like 5 years now, right? The military will pay you to go to school there. And now he's there, and he's like, they'll pay me to go to school. And Dad, I don't like holding the weeds down to start the path, but I'm real good at following the path. And I said, buddy, the military, they've set the path up for you. You just have to go, cross the T's and dot the I's and follow the procedures. And you're really good at that. And he said,
and run through the fires too, right?
So what?
And run through the fires too, right?
Run through the fires too, absolutely. But I was excited when he called me and told me that, for him to be thinking that might be an angle to go. And again, as a college student, when you get out of college, you can go right into officer candidate school and start training. Right. So he was pretty excited about that. And of course, he won't see anything for 4 or 5 years except the paycheck. So that, to him at 19, he's like, hey, they're going to pay me to stay at Georgia Tech and go to school? That's, kind of amazing. And let's face it, with the Great Resignation and the problem with getting employees right now, even the military sees it coming, right? They're looking in the future and saying, if we don't start getting some of these kids and offering them something really to incentivize this, we're not going to have anybody in the military. And whatever your political view is, we need people in the military, right? There's a system that needs to be operated and run, and that needs to be supported. And if we don't have people doing it, we're kind of hosed. So they're offering some pretty lucrative packages to young people now that have some intelligence and some leadership skills, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where he's at. So leadership skills, I'm not so sure. He's my youngest son, but maybe they see something in him that I miss.
Oh, he'll build it.
Yeah, they'll build it into him, right? That's what they do. Is they build it into him.
Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, JJ, I just want to ask, you got anybody you want to shout out before we wrap up the end of the show here, get towards the end of the show? Oh, you know what? How are you going to be celebrating Veterans Day? That was the other thing I wanted to ask you.
Actually, so we enjoy the pancake breakfast over here at the VFW.
Yep.
That's one thing that we do. And I'm part of Rotary and I'm part of Kiwanis, and so I'm going to be giving a shout out to everybody that I can locally over here that's a veteran during both of those meetings, because they're really, really important. So yeah,
absolutely. And again, forget political affiliations, forget what you think about people in the military or anything else. Guys, if you lived in Ukraine right now, you would wish you had a fighting force like the U.S. military protecting you. Let's just be honest. If somebody invaded this property of ours, you would be very, very, very grateful for the military machine that the United States has in place that can be on guard in the blink of an eye. So let's not forget the fact that y'all could be speaking German right now or with an English accent, so let's just be honest, right? So yeah, we have a lot of cool stuff going on here, and I try and get to all of them. Somebody said to me the other day, well, what are you going to do if they don't want to give you your free lunch on Veterans Day? I said, pay for it.
yes.
Right. I'm gonna fight with you about giving me a free lunch. How about no? Give it to the other guy. I can pay for mine, But
yes. I got a retirement coming in. That's a benefit enough.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's the cool part. I think you mentioned something earlier about just maybe it was Mitch. I'm sorry, we did back-to-back interviews, but the knowing who you are and getting that kind of, when people acknowledge that, right? And just that feeling of, yeah, I served. And again, I only served a few years, and I wasn't a pristine, stellar Marine, but I'm still a Marine, right? So that's the end of that. Anyway, Gratitude Month. How are you celebrating Gratitude Month? Are you like going out of your way to make sure you do something specific, or are you just kind of jumping in?
Well, as far as gratitude is concerned, let's just I give gratitude every day because I went without for a long time. So I especially for Gratitude Month specifically, but I try to show my family as much thanks as I possibly can, because my wife was a single parent. Every time I deployed, every time I went on 6 weeks of training, every time, I would have to go somewhere for anything, she held down the fort. And I think these kids I have over here probably turned out a lot better because they had more of her than they had of me. So,
I think my children's mother might think the same thing, that if I would have been deployed more often, we might still be married. Too much of me being around too often, So,
when I retired in 2018, I took about a year off just to kind of hang out with family and do. We had to help out a relative in Virginia, but after a while, I remember the exact day. My wife looked at me and she's like, "Aren't you ready to go back to work?" I'm like, that's not subtle at all.
Let's see. I guess you are, huh? Yes, dear. Yes, I am. I'm going to Indeed.com right now.
That's right.
I'll be out of your hair shortly. That's beautiful. Oh, you know what, though? And that's the beauty of being in the military, just sharing that camaraderie, that understanding that you and I can share, even though we weren't in the same branch. We both went through that same crucible, that same fire. We both had the same desire to serve our countries and to absolutely, be able to represent the United States in any conflict that was ready to come up. But the podcast, JJ, talk to me about that.
So I actually started a podcast, and you're going to laugh when I tell you the name of it. I took a break from it because I'm going to do it. I was going to do it as strictly educational, but I'm going to be doing some interviews. So I'm setting those up before I get it started again. But it's actually called The Crusty Soldier on Leadership.
Nice.
So anyone who served knows what it means to be crusty, and that just means you served for a heck of a long time.
Well, warrant officers get to call themselves crusty leadership. There's no doubt. I mean,
Yes,
you fought your way tooth and nail to that, right?
did.
Oh, that's awesome. So when's it on? When's it coming back? Where do you stream it? What's up?
So it's not going to be next Monday that I start it back up again, but it's going to be the Monday after that. So I have somebody that I'm going to be interviewing, and I'll probably post that up on my social media. Anybody who I shared this with will see that because I'm going to be posting it to my personal page, my business page, and my group as well.
Awesome. Well, I just found you. You're on Amazon Music, so it wasn't hard to find. So, folks, if you just want to Google the Crusty Soldier on leadership, you'll find everything to do with JJ. And JJ, if you're interested in figuring out how to make all that stuff come together in one swell foop, I'd love to talk to you about how to find a hashtag nobody else is using, and then
Sure.
you hashtag all your stuff, and they just put that one hashtag in. So you see, I got this one on the screen here. This Your Google Guru thing. Like if you put that into Google, all you find is me. There's nobody else uses it. So it's a way for me to kind of consolidate all of my social media and YouTube and website and everything all in one spot. And it's cool to put it on your business card. And then how do I find you? Just put that into Google.
Well, that is cool. So
Yeah.
I just started a business not that long ago. And so I'm the whole practicing what my service is not difficult, but the whole marketing and SEO and all that other stuff that goes into having a business, it's like having to learn Japanese.
Okay, well, I'll throw out my offer then.
Okay.
Google guru.live. That's the website. It's my calendar. Googleguru.live. Jump on there for 30 minutes. Let's just chat. I've been doing marketing and websites and technology for 40 years. So
Okay.
I'd love to hear what you're planning on doing and maybe give you a little bit of direction and some guidance in where that's going.
Thank you, Robin.
Look at that.
I know that's not what we're on here to do, but
but you know what? Always looking to help out. Look, there's Cindy with my Google workshops are awesome. That's what I do is I teach Google to small business owners. So,
oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
I figured with the Google Guru, it had to be something like that, but I wasn't going to assume because I know what assumptions do.
Yeah,
so
easy. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing right there. Yeah, I had somebody say to me the other day, so how much do I charge for doing this for them? And I'm like, I don't do it for you. And they said, oh, you don't do the Google stuff for me? I said, no. When you go to the top of the hill to talk to the guru, he gives you the answers. You go do it yourself. So I decided
smart.
as I'm going into retirement, I said, I'm going to be a guru because the guru just gives the answers. And then you got to go figure it out, right? I'll help you. I'll be there, but you got to figure it out. So there's a cartoon called Pearls Before Swine. Stephen Pastis writes. It's in the local newspaper all the time. And in Pearls Before Swine, they have a guru they go to sometimes. And you get to the bottom of the mountain, there's a little sign pointing up, and it says, "The wise ass on the hill." And when you get to the top of the hill, it's actually an old donkey with glasses and a gray beard. The wise ass, right? So it can get away with it in the comics section of the newspaper. It's pretty hilarious. But JJ, I'll tell you what, man, I appreciate you coming by today and hanging out with us. We talked about gratitude. We talked about shouting out. Anything you want to add before we call this thing off and pop you back into the green room?
Two things. One, it's going to be Veterans Day on Friday. So anybody who has served, is considering serving, there's just something about what you do in the military that is just the hardest thing in the world to do because it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. So anybody in their life who has raised their right hand and done what they had to do, whether it's for 2 years or 50, I really appreciate what they did. And that's pretty much it. Awesome. But I do have one cool thing that Cindy wanted me to mention. I made a contribution to aviation when I was in the military.
Okay.
So when I was stationed in Hawaii, the OH-58 Kiowa was gotten rid of. Okay. I got rid of all 26 of those aircraft and sent them to California. And I was part of the fielding of the Apache to the 25th Aviation Brigade in Hawaii.
Wow.
So that's my one contribution to aviation.
There you go. So we are connected. How about that?
There you go.
Connected than we thought. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, JJ, I really appreciate you coming and let me interview you today. I appreciate your service and everything you did to make sure that the stuff got where it was supposed to be. and the guys had what they needed when they got there. So again, thank you for your service. Thank you for coming out and hanging out with us today. And we're going to go ahead and pop you back into the green room and wrap this thing up.
Sounds good. Thanks, Robin.
All right. You're welcome, sir. All right, everybody. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks, everybody, for coming and hanging out with us. We really appreciate you being here. Next Wednesday, we're going to be celebrating with Chappie at the Midway Museum, 2 p.m., and we're going to learn the truth on how cruise rates work with Cindy. So anyway, guys, we appreciate you all. I love you all. Go out there, change the world, and have a marvelous rest of your day. We're out.